Hi everyone at Ladera Oaks. I hope you're looking forward to another version of Cooped Up with Ray. Um, I thought it would be great to go over the volley. A lot of our members, maybe they haven't taken a lot of lessons, and when they do, we focus on ground strokes and your serve, and a lot of times the volley gets neglected, and it's a stroke that's relatively easy looking. It looks very simple, and so when you see a good volley, look like that would be easy to do. And so a lot of us feel like, wow, it's such an easy stroke. Look at how simple it looks. It's actually very hard to make something super simple. And so I wanted to go over a few things just to see if we can help you while we're hanging out, learn some techniques. So maybe we get you practicing on the ball machine. One of the coolest things is the better you get in tennis, the more details and the more fun it gets and the better the points become. And then you get even a lot more details. So if we get those fundamentals down, tennis just becomes that much better. It's, it depends on someone's level, what we're gonna work on in a lesson. But let's go over a few things. First of all, a volley is when you're at the net and you're hitting it before it bounces. By definition, that's a volley. And a lot of times we're very close to the net. And a lot of members, when they're on top of the net, it does make it easier because the net's out of the way. So the closer you get to the net, you can get away with a lot of bad habits and it'll still work. When you practice your volley, you want to be several steps behind the net so that you can't get away with, I'll call these overhead volleys, and you're practicing more of a volley that has a good technique. And I want to go over some of that technique. And so let's say the net is 3 or 4 feet in front of me, maybe 6 feet in front of me, and I'm behind the net. And the first thing that's really difficult is being able to set your racket for a nice volley. So that's a nice position. And this is one of the most important parts of a volley, is that our hands in front of us, almost like we're gonna say hello, our elbow is in front of my body. So many players take the racket back with their arm and their elbow, and it's behind my body. And you wanna have your elbow and your hand in front of you. And so if you have the right grip, and we went over this last time with the continental grip, and as we're going to set that racket, my elbow's in front of my body, I've opened up my hand, and the volley angle is slightly open. So a lot of club players get used to learning ground strokes first, and they get very good at having their racket level, and at the net they're very level, and we want to have that racket slightly open. So you can see that nice open face, and we're going to come through the ball with an open face. The next part is, when you volley, you actually want to be going a little bit down through the contact. So as the ball's coming to you, it's very difficult because the ball is dropping, and a lot of players want to put their racket where the ball is going to be. And that's not necessarily a volley, because with an open face, that ball is going to go too high. So then they think that the open face is the problem. That's not the problem. It's just that as the ball's dropping, we want to be coming slightly down into the ball. And that's a concept that takes a lot of practice, because we're used to going low to high. And now we want to set our racket so we're going slightly high to low as we come into the ball, which also is very difficult when the size of the volley is only about, let's say, 1 foot or 2 feet in length. And so we want to be coming into the ball slightly above, and then as the open face comes in, it's going to come off nice and level. And so I'm going to go through a few details to help you with some more parts of the volley. So I brought this chair in to learn the volley without our legs first, because we're going to use a lot of legs in our volley. We're going to try to be super athletic at the net. We don't need to just work on balanced volleys. But in the beginning, and when you first think about the volley, I want you to think about it with no body. First thing is, I'm going to be about a quarter turned. So if this is the ready position and I set up my volley, this is about how I want my body. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. You could be a little too turned or a little too open, but let's just say a mini turn. And we're going to have that elbow out in front. Now, when you go to the volley, this is crucial, is our ready position starts with our racket up. But even though the racket's up, my hand is a little bit down. And this first movement it's crucial for the volley, is to feel like you go slightly up, say hello to the camera, and that racket's out in front and it has a slightly open face. And so we just want to practice this 5 times of having the racket head up, and I'll start in ready position. Also notice my racket's not facing dead at the camera. When you have that continental grip, your racket will comfortably start in this position. And then we're going to just practice going into the volley spot. Now I want to do that a few times where I just take out the body and just set the racket. So as I do that, I'm keeping the racket out in front. Now the volley stroke, we want to feel like there's no body. You don't need to use your hips. You don't need to use your shoulders to get the racket going. The volley is a very unique movement where the shoulder and the elbow just work together. It's more of just a shoulder swing, and at first the racket goes slightly out to in. So you can see I'm not going, I'll call this in to out, and this would be out to in. That would be too much. And the racket's just going forward and barely out to in. And that's a very comfortable movement. And so you notice it's just my right shoulder, my elbow is being used a little bit, and that's really all it is. It's hard to be simple when you're excited and going for the ball. So now that we've got our racket here, we're going to go slightly also up to down. Now, if we had more of an open face and it was a lower volley, we might put more slice or more downward movement. If it's a higher volley, we might hit it a little flatter, get the face a little straighter. But for now, we just want to learn that normal volley, and they're all going to be right here. And we're just going to go slightly high to low, slightly out to in, and hold the finish right here. This is as long as you want your finish needs to be. Some of you that think you swing too much, it's because we're using our shoulders and our hips to try to hit the ball, and then you think you swing too much, and it really wasn't so much your swing, you're using your body. The other person's supplying the power, and we're just using their power like we're a little backboard and just giving it a nice little stroke. So now that we've started to learn the volley in terms of just that nice simple stroke, okay, is we're going to add some legs to that. And we want to make our lower body completely independent of our upper body or feeling like when we're hitting the ball. So think of it like our racket could be set and we could move as much as we want to the position, but then the stroke is still just nice and simple. So a lot of times we're going to have a slight pivot and step into the ball, but again, that movement and even a little bit of leverage with your body is not part of the stroke. So here's a big key is you could even move through a ball and it feels like my racket's waiting for the ball, and when the ball gets about a couple inches away, I'm going to give it a hit, but my feet are free to do whatever I want and not feel like the feet are connected to the racket. So the racket is all on its own, waiting for the ball. So your body's free to go after that ball. I want you guys to be as athletic as possible at the net and really feel like it's okay to run, it's okay to step, or if they hit super hard, maybe you just take a quarter step because it came so fast. But still, the volley is all going to come down to having a nice set on the racket and feeling like the racket head isn't really part of the lower body, and we're not using our lower body as part of the swing. So finally on the volley, I'm going to hit a couple balls against the wall, and like we were saying last time, our home is more of a athletic sports field than it is a home, but I'll go ahead and slam some balls into the wall. But here's the thing on a volley, the court basically is half size. Is instead of 78 feet, now we're up at the net and we don't have a lot of space to keep the ball in play. And so the stroke not only needs to be a little shorter, but a lot of times we actually want to take pace off the ball. And now a second aspect of really tough to work on with the volley is so many of us want to hit the ball and we want to kind of have the feeling of absorbing the ball or almost letting it cushion to your strings. And a drill to do that would be to try to kind of not try to hit it back against the wall and stop and catch the ball. So I'm going to hit the ball, stop and catch it. Hit the ball, stop and catch it. And to do that, I'm letting the ball just get used to cushioning into my racket and letting the ball pressure push my racket a little bit backwards. We want to have that feeling even when we stroke into the ball, that as we hit it, we're kind of softening our hand a little as we hit it, rather than that human instinct to want to give it a little bit of hit. So much like we just talked about having the racket absorb the ball, and we were working on kind of catching it with our racket and stopping it, here's a great drill. Maybe you can do this in your backyard, and we're going to try to do it together, and we'll see how it goes. And we're going to double hit each volley. All right, so now that you guys are learning a little touch and how to absorb the volley, and you've got a little bit better technique, I hope you enjoyed your video lesson for our Cooped Up with Ray hangout time. I hope we get to practice this soon together. And to finish, here's our championship, kind of the Bill C. Boys war here to see who's the king of the household. All right, we get 2 shots each for the king of the household. Here we go. Oh, okay, a little softer. Oh, God.
Bam.
Oh, no. Thanks, guys. I hope to do another video to humor you again soon. I did want to hear if any of you beat my 87 in a row, so I hope some of you are practicing on that as well. And I will see you soon.